Welcome to the story of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, like you've never heard it before.
This story isn't told to you by the one Dragonborn that masters all, but told to you through the eyes of many different characters.
From soldiers in the Civil War seeking peace and order,
to seeking freedom and to remove the weakness from her lands.
From those cursed by the night, seeking to be the vigil in the darkness.
To warriors seeking honor, glory, and companionship.
To a shapeshifter and worshipper of the Daedra who seeks to live a life as a warrior.
To a mage seeking power and the arcane knowledge of Aetherius.
To assassins seeking fear and bringing the cold touch of Sithis.
To thieves seeking wealth beyond measure.
We all hope you enjoy
this story
of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Chapter 40, Ancient Blood. While studying at the Bard's College, I was approached by a man who told me about the Dawnguard. He explained that the Dawnguard were vampire hunters. With vampires infesting Skyrim, I knew I had to join. I wanted to prevent others from suffering as I did, and to keep families from being torn apart by vampires like mine was. I feel that I'm meant to help here, to hold back the vampires.
So who are you? What do you want? You got a fire in your belly to kill vampires, eh? Good for you. But look around. There's really not much to join yet. I've only just started rebuilding the Order. I need someone out in the field taking the fight to the damn vampires, while we're getting the fort back into shape. Tolan was telling me about some cave the Vigilants were poking around in. Seemed to think it was related to these recent vampire attacks. Tolan, tell her about, what was it? Dimhollow.
Yes, that's it. Dimhollow Crypt. Brother Adalvald was sure it held some long-lost vampire artifact of some kind. We didn't listen to him any more than we did Isram. He was at the hall when it was attacked.
That's good enough for me. Go see what the vampires were looking for in this Dimhollow Crypt. With any luck, they'll still be there. Here, you should take a crossbow. Good for taking out those fiends before they get close. Feel free to poke around the fort and take what you need. There isn't much yet, but you're welcome to anything you can use.
I'll meet you at Dimhollow. It's the least I can do.
There was another young Nord, much like myself, who had also joined. I wonder what his reasons are for joining this fight against the forces of death.
I know something's going on, and I've seen the vampires. I felt I had two choices. I could either live in fear of the night, or I could do something to help protect my people.
He displayed remarkable bravery, and was truly one of the noble ones. It takes great courage to willingly put oneself in harm's way to protect Skyrim from the fangs of the vampires. The similarities between the Dawnguard and the Bard's College are striking. Like the Bard's College, the Dawnguard also required me to undertake a quest before becoming a member. I was tasked with heading to Dimhollow Crypt. On the way there, I traversed the treacherous volcanic tundra, only to be pursued by hostile giants. Realizing that reaching Dimhollow during the day would be challenging, I had to find a suitable place to camp for the night. The darkness brought its own dangers, with vampires lurking about and the biting cold of winter creeping in. Recognizing the need for a secure resting place, I chose to set up camp near the comforting warmth of the tundra's waters. It was there that I spent the night, preparing myself for the journey to Dimhollow Crypt. This crypt held great significance, as the vampires sought to reclaim one of their ancient artifacts within its depths. My mission was clear: to thwart their plans, retrieve the artifact, and bring it back to the Dawnguard. When I awoke, I was greeted by a beautiful rhino. Such creatures are a mirror of Skyrim, beautiful and strong, and if messed with, they are unforgiving. With the camp packed up, I embarked on a journey towards Dimhollow Crypt in the northwest. The Vigilant, who had promised to rendezvous with me there, would join me on this quest. As I made my way towards Dimhollow Crypt, I encountered a group of ice creatures near a shrine dedicated to Talos. When I engaged them in combat, I noticed that upon their demise, Dawnbreaker, my weapon, engulfed their remains in flames. It was a comforting sight to come across a shrine of Talos in the wilderness, untouched by the Thalmor, Talos held great significance in my upbringing, as my mother often spoke about him. She believed that without Talos, my existence wouldn't have been possible. It was through her role as a priestess of Talos that she met my father, and their union brought me into this world. With the divine blessing of Talos, I am confident that he will guide and protect me on my journey to Dimhollow Crypt. May his presence ensure that I fulfill my quest successfully. Through the snowy expanse of the north, I forged my path towards Dimhollow Crypt. However, an eerie silence hung in the air, as if an illness had befallen the surroundings. I sensed that I was drawing nearer to the presence of the vampires. To my surprise, the Vigilant was nowhere to be seen. Had he arrived before me and ventured into Dimhollow Crypt? I better go inside and see what I'm dealing with within Dimhollow. When I entered, I heard the unmistakable sounds of a fight. It appeared that the Vigilant had ventured in ahead of me. But by the time I arrived, the vampires had already slain him. That goddamn fool! Now the burden lies solely on my shoulders. I must take matters into my own hands. Perhaps it's time to test the power of my crossbow against these bloodthirsty creatures. The crossbow proved to be highly effective against the vampires. However, reloading it proved to be a challenge, especially in the darkness. Thank Marillia for bestowing me with Dawnbreaker, for it made short work of these parasites. The path ahead was obstructed, but in my experience with ancient tombs, there was often a hidden mechanism to open such gates. There must be a lever concealed somewhere nearby. Ah, this appears to be the right direction. I bet that the lever to open the gate is located up there. Good. Now it's time to put an end to these filthy bloodsuckers. I will locate and retrieve whatever it is they are seeking and bring it back to Fort Dawnguard. As I ventured deeper into the tomb, I encountered a multitude of vampires and Draugr. Fortunately, the Draugr took it upon themselves to engage the vampires, defending their sacred tombs from the intruders. Those who remained after soon met their demise at the hands of Dawnbreaker. Each time one of their spells struck me, a wave of sickness washed over me, draining my strength. However, this only fueled my determination to ensure that none of these monstrous creatures would ever leave this place again. Fear gripped me as I fought for my life. In the darkness, these hounds pounced on me relentlessly. Their attacks seemed never-ending, and with each bite, I felt the specter of death looming closer. None shall escape the wrath of Marillia or my vengeance. All shall be brought to ash.
I'll never tell you anything, vampire. I oath to Stendar, stronger than any suffering you can inflict on me.
I believe you, Vigilant. And I don't think you even know what you found here. So go and meet your beloved Stendar.
As I passed through the door, the echoes of heated arguments filled the air. Among them was a Vigilant, whose life had been claimed by the vampires. It became clear that he was the catalyst for the vampires' attack on the Vigilance Hall. The purpose behind their presence here must be nearby, as I could sense something. And I truly mean it when I say that something was calling out to me, evoking memories of the moments before I encountered Cecilia or Senturos. It was a strange sensation, one that I couldn't shake off or forget. Whatever it is they are looking for, it's down there and so are they. It's time to turn these monsters to ash. After I had cleaned Skyrim of their presence, I noticed a strange pillar in the middle of the structure. It smelled of blood. There was a pressure button surrounded by blood, almost like some sort of sacrificial mechanism. Reluctant to activate it, I was aware that it would cause pain. However, there was an undeniable allure to whatever lay hidden within. I felt compelled to uncover what the vampires were pursuing. I came here to thwart their plans and seize what they desired. I must proceed, even if it means shedding a small amount of blood. I need to do this. Son of a molag, that was excruciating. A spike emerged and pierced my hand, causing immense pain. As soon as it tasted my blood, the structure sprang to life. Braziers emerged from the ground. I had to position the braziers throughout the room, anticipating that something significant would occur once they were in the correct locations. After activating all the braziers in their proper positions, the ground shook beneath me. The pillar began to expand, exhaling a purple beam. Then a monolith emerged from the ground. Whatever the vampires sought was contained within this column. As I approached the monolith, it opened and a woman fell out. Was she truly alive? Wait, her pale skin! She's a vampire!
Who sent you here? I don't know who that is. Is he like me? Vampire, yes. Not fond of vampires, are they? Well, look, kill me. You've killed one vampire. But if people are after me, there's something bigger going on. I can help you figure out what that is. I was going to say the same thing to you. My family used to live on an island to the west of Solitude. I would guess they still do. By the way, my name is Serana. Good to meet you. Did you know this place was once a bustling hub for traders? Hard to imagine it now. Your guess is as good as mine. This place looks pretty different from when I was locked away. All right, who's there?
The vampire introduced herself as Serana, and she expressed her desire for me to accompany her back home. Strangely, I didn't feel the expected anger or hostility towards her. Instead, I felt an unusual sense of calm and an inexplicable compulsion to fulfill her request. I don't know why. She's a filthy vampire necromancer, the absolute worst kind of beings in Tamriel. And yet, I didn't want to reduce her to ashes. But she was undeniably gorgeous, despite her dark nature. I couldn't help but notice her beauty. It made me wonder how long she had been trapped in this place. Now we had to escape from this crypt, or as Serana described it, a once thriving city of trade from her time. We had to face and defeat the undead guardians that stood in our way, ensuring our safe passage back into the sunlight. There was yet another wall adorned with intricate carvings. I couldn't help but wonder if it held any magical inscriptions or writings that I could read. It did. I could hear it calling out to me, its chanting song echoing throughout the room. However, once again, I seem to be the only one able to hear the chants. That some of the ancient dead could speak the words and wield the same magic as I could. It made me wonder if they too had learned from these wall carvings during ancient times. Serana seemed unable to hear or see anything from the wall. Once again, it was only me who could see all of this on the walls. She sat there with a peculiar expression on her face, as if she had some knowledge that was now lost to memory. I couldn't help but wonder if she had encountered others like me during her time. The carvings read, "Here lies the body of Svolo, who possessed the strength to slay a dragon, but lacked the stamina to vanquish many." Once I had deciphered the carving that read "Gone," we discovered an exit from the crypt. I eagerly embraced the light and the crisp air that beckoned us back to the lands of Skyrim.
Breathe again. Even in this weather, it's better than the cave.
I was filled with questions that I wanted to ask Serana. I was curious about her family, the time period she hailed from, and the Elder Scrolls she carried on her back.
Another day in Skyrim. I'm still trying to decide which is more unpredictable, the weather or the inhabitants. Yes, it is. And it's mine. It's complicated. I can't really talk about it. I'm sorry. Good question. Hard to say. I can't really tell. I feel like it was a long time. Who is Skyrim's High King? Oh, wonderful. A war of succession. Good to know the world didn't get boring while I was gone. Who are the contenders? Empire? What empire? Cyrodiil is the seat of an empire? I must have been gone longer than I thought. Definitely longer than we planned. Please, let's hurry. I need to get home so I can figure out what's happened. I'd rather not get into that with you, if that's all right. I'm sorry, it's not that. It's just that I don't know who I can trust just yet. Let's get to my home, and I'll have a better sense of where we all stand. It's on an island near Solitude. Hopefully we can find a boat to take us there. It's my family's home, not the most welcoming place, but depending on who's around, I'll be safe there.
My mission became evident, to safely escort Serana back to her home. I couldn't fully comprehend why I felt compelled to do so, but the drive was undeniable. It was an unexplainable instinct guiding me. Serana's confusion regarding Cyrodiil being an empire raised questions about her age. How old could she possibly be? She was even older than Talos himself, surpassing 1,000 years of existence. I had someone behind me who was older than a god. I wanted to learn the histories of Skyrim so I could one day sing songs about ancient times across Cyrodiil. I have someone with me who was alive around that time, who could tell me firsthand what Skyrim was like back then. That's crazy. Someone who could tell me about the High King or Queen of her time, how Solitude felt 1,000 years ago. It was like having a traveler through time. The snows were falling across Skyrim, and winter was only days away from arriving. We weren't too far off from Serana's home now. She mentioned that she lived in a castle on the coast of Skyrim. I had heard tales of a castle off the shores of Skyrim, stories that had been passed down for generations. Nearly every child born in Skyrim over the past 500 years had been regaled with the haunting legends surrounding that castle. We passed by a fort that appeared abandoned from a distance, but as we approached, it became clear that it was under the control of the Thalmor. I would rather venture into a castle that the stories claimed no one had returned from than to step foot into that fort teeming with the Thalmor. At least with the castle, I had a chance.
This is the part where we usually get in the boat. You with me?
No wonder the stories say nobody comes back. If it's her home and it's filled with vampires, those who enter become food. What in oblivion was I doing here? This wasn't like me at all. Normally, I would have cut Serana down and returned to the Dawnguard. But something compelled me to stay, to embark on this journey with her. I couldn't help but question my own actions and wonder why I was here. I felt like I was delivering myself as food to the wolves. What possessed me to be here? Why didn't I cut her down and take her scroll? How in the name of Talos was I going to tell the Dawnguard if I made it out of here? She stopped me to talk. I was starting to feel more like myself again. I didn't want to listen to the creature. My main objective was to discover what lay inside and, if I survived, inform the Dawnguard.
How dare you trespass here? Wait, Serana? Is that truly you? I cannot believe my eyes.
A vampire greeted us, and it was clear that he knew who Serana was. He must have been as ancient as her.
Everyone! Serana has returned!
I guess I'm expected.
I can't believe it.
When I walked onto the balcony and looked down, I thought I was going to be sick. It was utterly disgusting. These vampires had slaves that they fed on, and the sight was enough to make me feel nauseated. I had never felt so repulsed in my entire life.
Yes.
I started to feel anger, furious at myself for being so foolish, and enraged at these abhorrent creatures. If only I had the ability to set the entire place ablaze and eradicate these monsters. However, I was just one individual, facing overwhelming odds. If they attempted to enslave me, Dawnbreaker would taste the flesh of the dead. I knew I had to go and uncover the identity of our enemy, because one day I would return, and when that day came, they would be reduced to ashes, consumed by the fire of my vengeance.
This is my savior, the one who freed me.
For my daughter's safe return, you have my gratitude. Tell me, what is your name? Very well. I am Harken, Lord of this court. By now, my daughter will have told you what we are. Not just vampires. We are among the oldest and most powerful vampires in Skyrim. For centuries we lived here, far from the cares of the world. All that ended when my wife betrayed me and stole away that which I valued most. You have done me a great service, and now you must be rewarded. There is but one gift I can give that is equal in value to the Elder Scroll and my daughter. I offer you my blood. Take it and you will walk as a lion among sheep. Men will tremble at your approach, and you will never fear death again. Then you will be prey, like all mortals. I will spare your life this once, but you will be banished from this hall. Perhaps you still need convincing. Behold the power! This is the power that I offer. Now, make your choice.
He would allow me to leave unharmed when I refused, for I would never subject myself to becoming one of these monstrous beings. Never.
So be it. You are prey, like all mortals. I banish you.
I better get out of here as soon as possible. I need to find a safe place to sleep before the sun sets and darkness falls upon this land. I can't believe I survived that. It seems luck was on my side. Perhaps Talos truly did watch over me. Those vampires, they're the ones who have been causing all this chaos with their attacks on towns and cities, and their ability to travel in large numbers during the day. There's no doubt that this is their doing. This place will do for the night. It looks like a predator's den, but I would rather confront them than endure the chilling cold of the night. I'll clear out these wolves and set up a fire. I'll rest here for the night and then depart at first light. What in oblivion happened to me? What possessed me to think it was a clever idea to lead a vampire back to her own home and vampire family? How am I going to explain this to the Dawnguard without them suspecting me of treachery? How did the quest go? Well, I did encounter a vampire with an Elder Scroll. However, rather than eliminating her and taking the scroll back to Fort Dawnguard, I made the ill-advised choice to assist her in returning to her vampire family. As a result, I delivered both her and the scroll to an ancient vampire clan, who are now responsible for the ongoing vampire attacks. I'm sure that won't go over well. It appears that Fort Dawnguard was attacked in my absence. It's time to inform Isran of my failures.
Look at this. I should have known it was only a matter of time before they found us. It's the price we pay for openly recruiting. We'll have to step up our defenses. I don't suppose you have some good news for me. Of course. Why did I suppose differently? Fine. Tell me what you know. A woman? Trapped in there? That doesn't make any sense. Who is she? More importantly, where is she? I'm waiting to hear what any of this means. They what? And you didn't stop them? You didn't secure the scroll? So they have everything they wanted, and we're left with nothing. By the Divines. This couldn't get much worse. This is more than you and I can handle. When did I say that? We need help. If they're bold enough to attack us here, then this may be bigger than I thought. I have good men here, but there are people I've met and worked with over the years. We need their skills, their talents, if we're going to survive this. If you can find them, we might have a chance. Right to the point, aren't you? I like that. Not like those fools in the Order. We should keep it small. Too many people and...
After I informed him of my failure, Isran sent me out to find 2 individuals essential for the success of the Dawnguard. One is a Breton scholar, and the other is a Nord hunter. Once I assist them with their respective issues, they will rendezvous with me at Fort Dawnguard.
All right, Isran. You've got us all here. Now what do you want?
Hold it right there!
What are you doing?
Making sure you're not vampires. Can't be too careful. So, welcome to Fort Dawnguard. I'm sure you've heard a bit of what we're up against. Powerful vampires, unlike anything we've seen before. And they have an Elder Scroll. If anyone is going to stand in their way, it's going to be us.
This is all well and good, but do we actually know anything about what they're doing? What do we do now?
We'll get to that. For now, get acquainted with the space. Soreen, you'll find room to start your tinkering on that crossbow design you've been working on. Gunmar, there's an area large enough for you to pen up some trolls. Get them armored up and ready for use.
Once I was welcomed as one of their own, I received my new gear. It felt more protective against both enemies and the elements. Plus, I acquired a new sword. My father's old one has endured so much, I must make a point to return it to his guard in the near future. But now it's time to go and start hunting down some vampires.
Yes?
We have received word of a vampire masquerading as a priest. We will embark on a journey to eliminate this abomination. I would travel with Altmer,
Yes?
as it is always wise to have a companion by your side. Together we will confront this
shrine?
creature and put it down.
Well, I'm going to them all. Yes, one at a time. Until I've visited all the shrines to all the gods in Skyrim. Why? What do you want? What are you talking about? I don't know anything about any monsters.
The Dawnguard's helmets possessed magical properties. When night fell upon us, we could use the helmets to enhance our vision in the darkness. I had planned to eliminate the vampire from the shadows, considering the potential aggression from the guard. However, before I could make my move, a group of vampires was about to launch an attack on Kynesgrove. It seemed that we were in the right place at the right time. But my anger towards their kind overwhelmed me. I impulsively struck down the vampire who was posing as a priest and nearly faced an attack from the guard. I had to convince them that he was a vampire, and they only believed me when I opened his mouth and revealed his fangs. Over time, we embarked on various missions. We received reports of vampires aligning themselves with bandit clans, aiming to infect more individuals and spread their influence throughout Skyrim. In response, we confronted them head-on, eliminating any obstacles in our path and reducing those bloodsuckers to ashes. In addition to our vampire hunting endeavors, we focused on recruiting new members to bolster our ranks. Our goal was to protect towns and communities during the night, standing ready to answer the call of the people of Skyrim when darkness descended upon their homes. This was the core mission of the Dawnguard. When the darkness comes, the light shall follow.
G'day all you absolute mad lads. Now, this is just one of those character builds for Ragni, my Dragonborn character. You know, like I said in many other videos, I want her to have a presence in Skyrim. Now, the whole entire point of this series is to have multiple characters, so the Dragonborn doesn't start in Helgen, the Dragonborn doesn't join the Civil War or participate in the guilds. She needs to have her own place in Skyrim. I just can't, you know, have it reappear out of thin air, or appear out of thin air, called the Dragonborn. She needs a place in the world. You know, she needs to at least have her own footing in the world. Every other character has that. All my guild characters, I'm not too sure all of them. My main guild characters are all the ones that will eventually follow the Dragonborn, have their own footing. Senturos has his own footing, Sigund has a very big footing, even Cecilia and Freya. They all have their own place, so I needed to kind of, yeah, like I said, I needed to put her in the world, you know, and it turned out quite good for me personally, because the first time I did this, she was a mercenary that joined up to a team, and they were there for like a few months before dragons turned up and killed a group, and she was angry. But this one is so much better because she joins the Bard's College. Now, Bard's College is a useless guild to join. It really is. It's absolutely useless. So you're just a mercenary for them, pretty much. And they're boring. But for her, it was perfect because I remember when I was doing the first story, the Origins, I saw her and her sister playing the lute and the flute. I was like, holy shit, why didn't she go and join the Bard's College? That's awesome. And again, I turned something useless and I gave it to her, and it gave her that adventurous spirit to learn music and travel the world. And eventually she finds her way to you know, she sees a lot of vampire activity, and vampires slaughtered her family. And she knew that her plans had to change, because she wanted to originally travel the world, you know. Go into Cyrodiil and travel Cyrodiil for a few years, you know, with songs and music and traveling, you know, just making new stories and telling old stories and stuff like that. But the vampires showing up, she stopped that. She felt like she had to serve, and she had to get something back on the vampires. For them killing her family, she wanted to kill them. All that sort of stuff. But again, this is kind of, you know, a bit more of that, because again, like, honestly, man, the Dragonborn just does, like, you know, kills Elduin. That's her entire purpose, but I don't want it to be just that. I don't just want her to be the Dragonborn. I want her to be Ragni before she's the Dragonborn. I want her to have a personality, you know, that she's an actual person, not some creature destined by fate, you know, written into a scroll, as she is. I want her to come first as a as a Nord, just as some simple adventuring Nord before she becomes a demigod. And this is what this entire thing is until eventually her main quest. The whole reason why she's put on Temriel, the whole reason the Dragonborn's there. I wanted to at least live. So this one, I like this scene because, first of all, I want to talk about what happened prior to this with the ice race. When I killed them, they exploded with the Dawnguard effect. That only ever works on the undead. So why the hell did it work on the ice wraiths? Are ice wraiths undead? Like, is that a thing? Because I have no idea. I've been playing Elder Scrolls games for probably like the last 17 years, since Oblivion. So, is this something new? Does anyone know? I tried to Google it, couldn't find out. Now she talks about her mother saying if it wasn't for Talos she wouldn't exist because her mother and father met because she was a priestess of Talos and her father was injured. But down the line, it's the absolute truth because Talos is her ancestor. He is the dragon blood, and her line goes all the way to Talos. From the Septums all the way to the end of the line, as far as we know it, with Tiber Septim. So again, two reasons her parents met because one of them was a priestess of Talos. And one of them's also, her ancestor. So I thought that was a pretty nick thing, and I really liked that kind of little jump in there. But when it comes to storytelling, sometimes these stories will write themselves, and that's just by walking out in an environment and that sort of thing, and I love that when it comes down to it. Look, I try to fix Bethesda's shit, right, this storytelling. Like the castle that reappears out of nowhere with the Dawnguard DLC. I tried to make it sound like a haunted castle that's been there for 1,000 years. And it's become something of like an ancient legend, like a ghost story, People that go there never return because it's inhabited by vampires. And so I'm just trying to make sense of the stupidity of this Dawnguard quest because, Isran recruits you, then sends you into a dangerous mission, and then all of a sudden you're delivering a vampire with an Elder Scroll to a vampire family, and then you're just walking away with your Dawnguard. Like, for a vampire playthrough, it makes sense, but for a Dawnguard playthrough, it's the dumbest thing possible. And so I kind of went with that, and thankfully SDA, which is the Serrana Dialogue Overhaul, SDA, I don't know what the hell it stands for, it really kind of fixes this because there's a reason why I made Ragni not so hostile, like naturally a vampire comes out, she'd brandish, her blade, and her and Serrana would have a fight, and either one would win or lose. I think Serrana would win because she's an ancient vampire, but she's not hostile towards us straight away. And there's a reason for that. It's because as soon as Serrana wakes, as soon as she falls out, she hits you with a calm spell, and you don't physically see it, but I guess no one really ever physically sees the calm spell hit them because they would know about it, and for some reason, I don't know if that would actually work. But with SDA, she hits you with a calm spell because I think after 2 weeks in game of following, of her following you, she'll actually confess to what she did. Then when she'd come out of the thing, she hit you with a calm spell, and that's kind of the reason I went with the whole the stupidity of Bethesda's questing, that you would just deliver a vampire to her ancient vampire family, even though you are hell bent on killing vampires. You would straight up take a vampire with an Elder Scroll back to her home. It makes no sense at all. But again, I guess just, her calming you and making you, it makes a lot of sense that way, that she hits you with a calm spell. Because again, it's a calm spell. You'll do exactly what she tells you to do because that's the way it works. You are under their control. It's an illusion spell. So I went with that. And for anyone asking questions, she's not publicly, this look is not publicly on the Nexus. This is my edit. All NPCs you see. I don't use visually downloaded follower mods or enhancement mods because I make them all myself. This is my Serrana. Now, for those that, I'm always all for dropping future story elements. The whole point of Serrana and Ragni is enemies to lovers because, Ragni hates vampires for what they did to her family. And she'll hate Serrana for a long time, and she'll eventually warm up to her because she'll learn to trust her, and she'll learn that not all vampires are pure evil. And that's what I like about this, she met with the last Dragonborn, so if she's a female, how did she become the last Dragonborn? She obviously have children. So maybe the reason she doesn't have children, she's the last Dragonborn, is because she's in love with another woman. There's always future elements to that story, of course. She'll definitely mingle, she already has mingled with the male in the sexual sort of manner. But again, this is the way it was for me. I wanted her to be kind of enemies to lovers. It's very much like two other characters that fight on opposite sides. And, well, I want to ask the questions here because it's very interesting. Serrana being that ancient. The reason I didn't give her a fucked up face, like I do the other older vampires, like with 150 years her face deforms, looks really ugly, is because she's a pureblood. So I wanted to get away with kind of making her look young and beautiful and pretty because she's a royal bloodline of vampires. And since she's a pureborn, her eyes look slightly different to other vampires of the Volkir. Like, the Volkir, they got red eyes, but her eyes look a little bit different. And her mother, not Harkon. Harkon will have the Volkir line, the normal red vampires. He's not pureborn. Serana and Valerica are made vampires by Merleg Ball himself. And then one of them would have turned Harkon into, I guess, a pure line of vampire. But, so she won't look like Cecilia, who looks fucking mutilated in the face because Cecilia's got the lame, like, yeah, the other different, the silver-eyed bloodline from ESO. And she's more than 150 years old as a vampire, so her face looks different. But, again, it's kind of interesting that Serana, you know, I love the idea that she's so old. You know, she's 1,000 years old plus, and, like, she can even be older than that. She's even older than Type of Septim. And Ragni, like, when she went to Falkreath, she wanted to, like, read stories of these ancient Nords that had died here from the times they come from, by how different Skyrim was politically, and it wasn't part of the Empire back then, or there wasn't an Empire back then. Skyrim was just, you know, an ancient Skyrim, and now she's travelling with somebody who's literally ancient, you know, who was from a time with Skyrim, you know, that who knows what's changed since then. It's 1,000 years, more probably. And I wonder if ESO is ever going to, like, chuck that family in. Maybe, wouldn't that be a bad idea? That would be a bad idea, but they've already conquered the sort of vampire bloodline with the western part of Skyrim. Like, I don't know how they'd get away with it. I don't know. Maybe by then I think Serana might be already locked away, but it'd be an interesting take on it, to be honest with you. I would love to be able to, like, help Valerica, like, you know, on a quest line to, like, you know, maybe Harkon's trying to start this thing already, this quest line, like the Dawnguard DLC, but you help Valerica stop him because she's against, like, turn the world against vampires, and I don't know, that's just ESO shit that I don't think will ever come out, but again, I like the idea of it. Now, the Haunted Castle right here, right? We've seen it before, other characters have mentioned it, Sigund, Senturos. You know, Sigund's been here at the very keep, slaughtering the elves, and Senturos is stationed there, and now the Thelmor are back, and I did want to set up a scene with a Thelmor character. My Thelmor character kind of interrupts Ragni in his sleep, but the game played up and crashed, and I didn't want to decorate again. I was like, fuck that, I'm out of here. So I cut that bit of the story out because it made me angry. It wasn't working properly, you know, my game crashed and shit like that. But yeah, the Haunted Castle, you know, like, it's me to try and make sense of an ancient castle. It's been sitting there for 1,000 years, but no one's gone there in 1,000 years. It just doesn't make any sense. So obviously someone's going to go there and check out this ancient castle and try and loot it, and they're never going to return. Eventually it's going to keep happening, and no one's just going to go there because people don't return. So they're going to call it haunted. You know, they're going to say it's, you know, possessed by a Daedric prince or this and that. And people aren't going to want to mess around and go there because, again, hundreds of people have never returned. And and another thing, the whole stupidity of it, Ragni hates vampires. Why would she willingly take a vampire back to her vampire castle? I mean, she's delivering herself as food. And now this charm spell is starting to wear off. She's starting to feel a little bit better. You know, more like herself. You know, Serana tries to talk to her and she cuts her off. You know, she's like, don't talk to me. And then when we get inside the keep, what you'll see is that it says you're starting to feel better, and that's because the spell is worn off. And then Ragni returns to her really heated, angry side of things, where she's like, fucking, where am I? I'm gonna start, you know, like, if I had the power of the gods, I would cut all of you down right now. But she's just a young lord with only like a one word of a shout or two words of a shout. You know, she stands no chance against a room of ancient vampires. When she first gets here, she's absolutely disgusted. Here are all these vampires sitting down, there's people on the table getting their, you know, getting drank from, there's dead bodies and, you know, eating skeletons and stuff like that, because the vampires are going to eat people, obviously, that contains blood within their flesh. And, you know, she's absolutely disgusted where she is. She's fuming, you know, and really soon her spell's going to wear off, and she, like, if she was a fully recognised Dragonborn, man, there would be no need for the Dawnguard. They, you know, I don't remember what the fire shout is, but she would obviously be cracking that off big time. And there's also a reason she kind of will be when she returns here, because the whole entire point of the Dawnguard questline, the reason I don't complete it before she becomes Dragonborn is because I don't want to do the Elder Scroll questline to find the Elder Scroll. I want that because we get to meet a certain character. But again, she'll kind of cancel her Dawnguard questline to go and deal with a bigger problem, and then eventually have to return to it because it gets out of hand without her, and she returns with her team, and she rocks up and to deal with Harkon, not as a little adventurous woman she is, you know, with just a sword and a shield, but kind of somewhat half of a demigod, and she'll make pretty much easy work of him somewhat, but again, that's for a much later date. This story is obviously going to come out when I'm overseas, so I should have listed that first, but yeah, it's going to be that. And so, again, I'm not going to be completing the Dawnguard questline as Ragni. I'm going to be completing the Dawnguard questline as the Dragonborn. Not as I don't know if I fully recognise Dragonborn, but in between the time where she has to do a lot of training, and she first gets defeated Elduin with every one of the companions and ones that survive. In between that time, there'll be they'll finish the Dawnguard questline, we finish the Dragonborn questline, there'll be some DLC like Wormstooth and stuff like that. So she's gonna pass because I don't want to get the Elder Scroll to fight the beat Elduin. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if I need to or not. Didn't really think about that. Essentially, Ragni's gonna find the Elder Scroll to confront Elduin, but I want her to do it in the Dragonborn questline, not the Dawnguard questline. Because, quite simply, is how she meets the Mage's Guild, or sorry, I keep saying Mage's Guild, the college character. That's how she meets Minerva. And I don't want it to happen, like, it's again, just some Dawnguard people walking in asking for where the Elder Scroll is, and it's not that important. But if the Minerva's not going to be like, oh, it's just some Dawnguard looking for an Elder Scroll. Sounds interesting, but not really life-threatening. But, you know, if the Dragonborn walks in, it's kind of urgency for Minerva to take the reins of the story and help out the Dragonborn. So it's going to stop eventually, and then it's going to start again much later on. But yeah, I want that fight between Elduin and the Dragonborn to be exactly that, not a fight. You know, I want to meet Minerva pretty much as a Dragonborn, not as a member of the Dawnguard. So she's finally got out, she's shitting bricks, but she needs a nice place to sleep for the night because, you know, it's getting dark and winter's approaching, and she prefers a cave over the Thalmor's Keep, because honestly, who the hell's gonna... you'd rather sleep with a den of wolves than you would the Thalmor. This is actually the kind of place where I had planned to where she'd set up camp, she'd go to sleep, she'd wake up, and there'd be Dominion soldiers, or Thalmor soldiers guarding the entry, someone searching her bags, and then my Thalmor character kind of waking her up, or she'd hear her walking around, and be kind of like, the fuck, she'd pull a blade out, and then they'd check her for Talos worshipping items, and then if she was all good, she'd let her go away, and it's just as simple as that, because they saw her walk past that keep, and they saw her go into this cave, and when the sun was gone, they'd kind of wake her up and intrude to make sure she's not a Talos worshipper, because that's their job. But it didn't happen, because my game crashed, and I didn't want to set up all these decorations again, like position, so just impatient, so I just decided to leave, and I was like, fuck that. But oh, yuck. Anyway, I decided to have this, like, you know, whenever you arrive at this place, it always gets attacked, so why not arrive after it gets attacked? It just kind of seemed a lot better. Obviously, you know, in the background, I actually killed them all, but I just thought it'd be interesting that she arrives late in the afternoon, because she left in the morning from the northwest part of Skyrim, and she ends up just before the sun goes down in the southeast part of Skyrim, and she's arrived in the afternoon, you know, after the attack of the vampires, and she's told them. She doesn't tell the Dawnguard how stupid she's been, and you know, she can't really describe what happened. She has no idea, but she has to front up. She's an honest person. She's like, oh yeah, I'm pretty much fucked up. I helped the vampires, and you know, and then she set up for some stupid recruitment quest. I think that's stupid too, but whatever. I decided to blow through that real quick, because I don't want to waste your time or my time with storytelling, and we kind of get her ready for the Dawnguard. Now this right here is pretty much the quest line, where you're basically confronted and say there's a vampire looking for you. You gotta go up and talk to him and start the quest line. Because thankfully, you can ignore that and go put your gear on and start taking miscellaneous quests to hunt vampires. I like that, because again, the whole idea of this story is that she's a Dawnguard member for a couple months. She's out there killing vampires, protecting towns, killing, you know, trying to, you know, finding out there's vampires in bandit cells, and before they infect them and make them run across Skyrim, causing absolute havoc, she goes in there and kills them with her teams and stuff like that. I want her to be in the Dawnguard before Serana rocks up, right? And then when Serana rocks up, it's where they get really close to the whole dragons rising problem. And so this is what I want her to do. I want her to feel like she's a Dawnguard member, not just thrown into the deep end like every other Elder Scrolls quest line, that you do one quest and all of a sudden you're neck deep in the shit. I wanted her to feel like a Dawnguard member, that she's out there, she's killing vampires, hiding amongst populations, trying to be advisors to Jarls, or trying to infect bandit clans, or defending towns at night. And this actually happened in this. Like, I was really surprised, because I was going to kill him in the shadows. It's an assassin sort of thing, but she needs to kill this vampire. She'll do whatever it takes to kill this vampire. And I was aiming at him, and then I heard, I smell blood, and that's a vampire line. I was like, holy fuck, is there a vampire behind me? And I turn around, and they're going to attack Kynesgrove at night, and I was like, holy shit. Like, that wasn't set up at all. That actually happened. And I was like, holy moly. Oh, that's a shit word to say. Like, I was about to pop him, and then I heard the word, and I was like, what the fuck? And I turn around, and there's vampires. Like, holy shit. So this is kind of their goal. Like, there'll be set up things where I go to a town, or I hear there's a town or attack, and Dawnguard will come to it, or protect it, or fight with it, or whatever the hell, and we'll be there to kill him. But I want her to be in the Dawnguard. I want her to feel like she's part of the Dawnguard before the BBDs come along, big black dragons. So again, that's kind of the whole entire purpose of why she's in the Dawnguard, because she's here to serve, and I want her to feel like she's served before another problem comes along where she feels like, or she doesn't really feel like it, where she has to serve, where she's put in that position where she ain't got a goddamn choice. And this is kind of where her character might change a little bit, from the soft, innocent woman that wants to save the world to someone with a great responsibility on their shoulders. You know, and great power comes great responsibility. And I'm not going to die after saying that, I promise. Well, I hope not. But yeah, this is just character building for Ragni, to make sure that she is part of the world and just another Nord out there telling her story before the story is written for her. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed. I'm going to get out of here. I should probably start doing outros as separate videos. But I hope you've enjoyed. And if you like this sort of stuff, stick around. There'll be more in a month, because I'm going overseas for a month. I'm going down England for a bit. And I won't be back for a month, but I've got a few videos planned up. So I hope you guys enjoyed. We'll catch you later. Have a good one. And subscribe if you want. Catch us.